Hello internet friends, Napyet here, and in this video I'm going to talk about what it's like collecting Transformers in the UK. I've heard from a lot of fellow collectors from all over the world, and everyone's experiences and their frustrations are different. But maybe you'll be able to identify with some of the things I've encountered here. The number one thing I found about collecting in the UK is that the Transformers I want are next to non-existent in the wild. Kids still play with toys despite the doom-mongering about young people tethered to their iPhones. Toys are still a thing, so we've got toy shops, but collector lines like Studio Series 86, they're not the priority. The weird thing is there are things in these shops that would be outside the price range of kids, like Lego kits for 700 quid or something, thrilling models of things like skyscrapers and bunches of flowers, you know, the kinds of things kids go nuts for. So what is going on? Is Lego a special case, a sort of acceptable kids toy? And it is a kids toy, whatever bunch of flowers you happen to be making that adults are allowed to collect and therefore retailers feel it's worthwhile stocking? Not so it seems, because as I say, they do stock some of the Transformers geared towards adults, just not very many of them. At the time of writing you can get Swoop from Smith's Toys, while he's sold out in all the specialists. The biggest market for Transformers is and always will be the US, so most people collecting elsewhere like myself compare our experience to that country. The big difference between the US and the UK is that supermarket chains such as Walmart and Target are the main consideration for companies like Hasbro in the US. What they produce is based upon how much of that item those retailers are likely to order. They also sweeten the deal with exclusives, and so on. In short, US mainline retail still stocks toy brands that would appeal to adult collectors, Supermarkets in the UK have never done this, not at any appreciable scale. If you peruse the shelves of Asda or Tesco in the UK, you will generally find about half an aisle full of miscellaneous toys, then the remainder will be Lego. And it wasn't much different in the past. Supermarket chains, convenience stores, pharmacies, none of these locations ever carried very many toys. There were local department stores, I remember fondly this one from my childhood, Ramsden's, and of course Woolworths on the high street, but that's now long gone, and it's been years since I've seen one of those small local department stores. I do remember Toy Master, which I think was a franchise, I think, where you had toy shops on the high street, but again, a relic of the past. Primarily though, if you wanted a good selection of toys, you went to either Toys R Us or one of its competitors, such as the Jolly Giant. Anyone remember that one? This is the niche that The Entertainer and Smith's Toys still fills today. So for whatever reason, British retail always wants to stick these toys together in a big warehouse style outlet. I've often wondered about why this would be. Why don't we mirror that American model and have more toys available in the places people generally shop? Why don't we make it more convenient? Perhaps it's telling that we don't use that phrase, convenience store, in the UK, never have. What, you want to easily pick up a toy for your kid? Give me a break. You've got to demonstrate you really want it by driving to a retail park on the outskirts of town. Kids don't like toys anymore. Well, it's hard to like something if it's hidden away in a warehouse off Junction 7 of the M25. But what I think is it could be as simple as a lack of space. We don't have as much of that in this country, so supermarkets are smaller. There's no room for a dedicated toy section, or a sports section, or even electronics these days. Apart from clothes, it's an aisle or two at most of home furnishings or car stuff. I don't know, I'm just guessing, but my point is if there's no room for televisions or engine oil, then probably the latest Studio Series 86, that's a low priority, as difficult as that may be to believe. I digress though. There's much more to rage about, discuss. Consider the UK's legacy of shitness when it comes to vintage Transformers on the whole. Is it any wonder we can't find Studio Series 86 Blaster anywhere when his original G1 counterpart never got a UK release? UK kids would hate the idea of having a boombox, wouldn't they? They should be satisfied with their Biggles books and Conkers. The list goes on, Shockwave, the Constructicons. It seems the UK hated the idea that British kids would have access to the entire line. In true UK style, it was decreed that we should know our place and never expect more than we were given. I'm older and wiser now, I honestly don't care. I don't, honestly. So having covered the lack of availability at mainline retail, where exactly are UK Transformers collectors getting their gear these days? Primarily, our dealer is the internet. And I should mention, by the way, that when I first started collecting, I did really try to buy stuff off the shelves. It's how I came to the conclusions I've already talked about. I didn't just go to the internet because I'm lazy. I went to it because I didn't have a choice. Well, I suppose I could have given up and not collected because things aren't out there, but I didn't want to do that. Here's where things get a bit more positive then, sort of. Because ordering things online fits my personality pretty well. I largely dislike people, and having to interact with them for more than an hour or so often feels like a chore. Honestly, it's something I've had to fight against, this tendency to isolate myself from others. It's not healthy, but for someone like me, having things delivered to my door, no need to drive and deal with dickheads on the road. No need to negotiate through crowds. No need to put my earbuds in to drown out the general crap people are talking. Just to have those Transformers magically appear on my doorstep. It's dangerously close to an ideal situation for someone like me. So the online retailers we UK collectors deal with are all collectors themselves and passionate about the things that they are selling. So much so they're often at war with Hasbro over cost, missed delivery dates, and the condition that figures can arrive in. Amazon is seen as the enemy, but for me, Amazon is the last place I would go for Transformers. There's no telling where they might be coming from, and it's a crapshoot whether they arrive in decent condition and if it's the right item and not a knockoff. Likewise, Hasbro Pulse threatens these independents, cutting them out when it comes to exclusives, and generally removing competition from the market. Once something's gone, it's gone on Pulse. But these retailers will continue to restock and hunt for figures long after the initial wave has sold through. They are the heroes of UK collecting. The cynical side of me says that it's the goal of every business to become a monopoly, and Hasbro isn't unusual in trying to do that. But I've met enough business people in a range of fields to know that not everyone thinks that way. It's the big mega corporations that do. Small independent business people understand the value of healthy competition. Actually, anyone with half a brain should understand that. Whatever independent retailers, collecting in the UK would be pretty awful. Barely anything on the shop shelves, Amazon scammers to contend with. Honestly, eBay is more reliable than Amazon. It's individual people posting pictures of the actual item. And Hasbro's official website for pre-orders, because if you don't pre-order, it's highly unlikely you'll get what you want. Have I painted a bleaker picture than I intended? Possibly. It's human nature to complain, I suppose, but I have to look on the bright side. There's the fact that by and large I've been able to get hold of the majority of figures I've been after so far through a combination of those independents and eBay. And I'm trying hard to not become a hermit when it comes to collecting. It's part of the reason I started this YouTube channel, to talk to other collectors so I don't become this weird messed up Smaug-like collector thing sitting on top of a pile of Transformers. Sharing the passion, sharing the interest, sharing stories, that's what this is all about. And that's why I made this video. It's a list of all the things that you need to know in a little bit more detail if you're just starting out on your collecting journey. It's in the form of a numbered list, and people seem to like those on YouTube, so hopefully you'll find it useful. Click on that. I've been Nap Yet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.